In for Henrik Larsson, and Moravcik! His first goal for Celtic! Here is Shunsuke Nakamura! Exquisite!
Good evening all and a very warm welcome back to the Celtic Unrestricted View. It's myself, JP, and tonight I am on my Todd. The lads aren't with me. I'm here for a chat with you guys. I hope you're all well. It's been a weekend of different stories coming in and out of Celtic. People possibly departing, people have already departed, and also players incoming. And the small matter of a Celtic match that took place on Saturday morning. But with no further ado, I will come to you guys who's tuning in with us across the platforms. As I said earlier, I hope you're all well. Hope you've had a lovely weekend. We did have a great weekend in terms of weather, and the sun was out in Glasgow, which means one thing. Probably most of us were very happy. And as I said, there was a Celtic game over the weekend. We will come to some comments. And Jem, first up, evening JP and the chat. John Shirley. John says, JP, why is your pod saying 1900 hours when you will be on at 8 o'clock? Does that give you time to put your Celtic top on? I don't know if that was one that you'd maybe practiced before, John, or it just sounded better and when you said it to yourself. But aye, the less said, the better, I suppose. But the pod was never going to be at 7 o'clock, mate. So I'm not too sure if your clock's at the right time. Plunge also, good evening, boys. Hope you're well, mate. Chris Murray, evening, JP and the chats. Defence, hail, hail, troops. Mark McDonald, hail, hail, JP, looking well. Thanks very much, mate. Glad you noticed, and my missus didn't. Hope you're well, Mark. Hope you had a nice weekend. Paul McGuire, good evening to you, mate. Hope you're well. Hail, hail, JP, and hail, hail to the troops. Craig McLean, good evening, folks. Hail, hail. Barry Boy 40, good evening, all. And there's Lindsay coming in as well. Evening, JP, and in the chat. Hail, hail, all. Well, as I said, a very hail, hail to you all. And a very good evening to you all. Let us know in the comments, what did you do at the weekend? I know we had a busy weekend in Glasgow. Obviously, Transmit was on. The weather, as I said, was extraordinary in terms of weather-wise. The weather in Glasgow over the weekend was probably warmer in some places across Europe. So, let us know what you did. Let us know if any of you went to Transmit. Let us know if any of you are sunburn. And let us know what you get up to. That'd be a good one to start off, I think. For myself, I wasn't at Transmit this year. It's probably the first time I think since Transmit begun I've not made it. If my memory serves me right. I'm usually there seeing somebody. But no, I never made it this year, which is... I don't want to say disappointing, because... disappointing would be if it was something I really wanted to do. I looked at the lineup and I just wasn't feeling it at all, folks. So I just never went. Barry Boy, he says he was up the Clyde Coast fishing. Good stuff. Did you catch anything nice? If so, how did it taste? Or do you do that? Do you just toss it back into the water? And not too much. Not that much. I was poorly. Sorry to hear that. Hope you're on the mend. No sunburn here. Can't stand the heat. It seems to be one of those things, doesn't it? A lot of people, especially in Glasgow, bemoan about it being too warm. And then when it comes to winter, bemoan about it being too cold. So there's never, ever a happy medium in between. And but I loved it. I was out and about now. I had a busy day Saturday. Yesterday I spent all day in my back garden with my two kids. Brilliant. Good laugh. And yeah, but as I said, folks, never a dull moment as it comes to Celtic. Obviously, the banner of tonight is that there has been some chat, and it's been put out from our good man, Mr. Anthony Joseph. And obviously, as you can see, it's Yang ponders an exit from Celtic. But before, obviously, we touch on that, there was a small matter of a pre-season friendly that took place on Saturday morning. Now, football fans in general, not just Celtic fans here, football fans in general, they can't wait till these games come around. They look forward to them. They want to see their team play just to get their fix. And, you know, but what I want to try and get a better understanding, especially from the folk that are tuning in tonight, if you managed to see the game, what was your own take of the game from Saturday? My personal take was it was a fitness workout. I know Celtic didn't win the match. They lost the game 3-2. Obviously, I'll touch on that as we go. But this stage of the season, it's still early. We're looking to get our match sharpness. Certain players, apart from Callum McGregor, because he seems to play all the time, are only getting 45 minutes each here. So to try and build up their kind of sharpness again and get them going. Yeah, let us know if you've seen the game, and let us know what you thought on the game. And obviously, as we go, we can touch on that. But there has been a bit of news over the weekend, like you've seen in the banner, that Yang does ponder an exit. It is indeed that Norwich have made an inquiry for Yang. And our understanding is from our good man, Mr. Anthony Joseph, is that the indication early on is that Yang would be acceptance of that interest and would like to maybe explore what could be further of that in terms of an exit. Personally, I take it that Yang's been told, or he's been given an inkling that he might not be first choice, and he might not even have a place in certain squads throughout the season. Yang's a young lad. He might not want to sit. You know, he's recently just managed to get himself into the South Korean kind of thoughts in the manager's mind there, and he's done very well from what my understanding is in the last couple of appearances he's had with them. So he's probably not going to want that to happen to him at this point in time, in my opinion. I think Yang will... I can't blame Yang for looking elsewhere. I think Yang is one of those players that he's frustrated a lot of the Celtic fans. I think the Celtic fans were expecting this lad to be in the team by now. There is quite a few that don't like him and don't think he's good enough to play for Celtic. I have seen a lot of development in him. I've seen him change in terms of his upper body and things that are really happening. And yeah, but my indication is that, or my indication to that move would be that he's been told that he's obviously moving on, or he's been told that, you know, it might be better for him to move on. Now, at this point in time, we don't know if it would be a loan deal to Norwich. We do know that Legia Warsaw have also shown an interest in him as well. But in terms of the move itself, we don't know if that would be, you know, if that would be permanently or that would be on loan. I personally I'm in the minority probably when I say this. I would want Yang, personally, I would like to see him stay. I think he's got a bit more to give. I think he can do a bit more. I think he's playing under a perfect manager, and that, you know, Brendan will obviously develop him, and he has developed him on. I know there was jokes going about when his girlfriend last season came to visit when he was started scoring a few goals and getting on the assist sheet as well. But yeah, I think there's a lot of Celtic fans out there that, you know, they might not lose sleep if Yang was to leave tomorrow. I thought he did very well on Saturday. Again, these games I tend not to read into. I look at players' fitnesses and where people are in terms of the, you know, how they're looking on the field. Performances aren't important just now. I says at the beginning, it's very early on in pre-season again. Still got some really good games coming up. One on Wednesday, obviously, when we play Sporting Lisbon. So yeah, I think you'll start to see Celtic motor in terms of their fitness and the way we're playing and how we shape up, and maybe starting with the game on Saturday as we take on Newcastle, probably a bit in that on Wednesday night. But it's kind of hard to really gauge just now because of how early on in pre-season that we currently are. Performances aren't what's important here. What's important is the players get fit, manage to stay fit, and try and give Brendan a bit of food for thought. I'll come to some more comments. What was the last one I left off? So Craig, he wasn't at Transmit, but he was down in London the week before watching Zach Bryan. 36 degrees there. Ended up melting John. Yeah, Zach Bryan's a good artist as well. Very good artist. The fence says we need to sign players. We need players in and no projects, please. Need quality who are European ready. That's always that's always a key thing, isn't it? European ready. I mean, that tag alone, what is that? I mean, you know, in my opinion, it's about the individual talent, isn't it? Now, for me, that can come at any age. It doesn't matter who, you know, Moussa Dembele. He was young when we brought him up for Fulham, and he pretty much hit the ground running. You know, guys like Odsonne Edouard, who couldn't get a sniff at PSG, played with our development squad, was loaned out, and then obviously loaned to us, and then we brought him in permanently. For me, it's just about quality. It's just about, you know, the word quality seems to be getting bandied about Celtic quite a lot just now. I personally think it doesn't matter what age you are. It's about your actual ability, you know. We've signed 5 players this window so far. We've let some players go. So there has been surgery done to Celtic already. But I can understand where people, you know, I do think this Celtic squad could benefit from some experience. I do agree with that. I'm not too sure that, you know, I mean, I'm not one to brand around that word ready-made, because you would look at that and say, well, what is ready-made? What can I, you know, for that one's a tricky one for me. It really is. Plunge, I'm assuming you were talking about the game on Saturday, Borefest Part 2. As I said, mate, the most important thing here is the fitness of the team. We're not looking for the performance levels of the team just now. That, and certainly from a manager's perspective, he'll not be looking at that and saying, right, well, hold on a minute, you know, these guys are doing this, blah, blah, blah. It's about the way we build the team, and we build the team's football fitness towards the season going ahead. Good evening, G-Doc. I hope you're well, mate. So a foggy Jew. Yang to Norwich for 9.5 million. Great. Are you just looking for a return on Adam Idah? That's what that strikes to me, Foggy. So I think Celtic will be doing very well to get anywhere near that kind of figure and target, in my opinion. Very good evening, Scott. I hope you're well. Hope you had a nice weekend, pal. Where it was amazing up here. So, yeah, as I said. Only Celts. The only thing I'm excited for is Adam Idah this season, scoring 20 goals with little to no confidence in his own ability. Imagine when he's firing all cylinders. That's the thing. I mean, there is probably nobody apart from Adam who believes in him more than he does himself. Maybe Brendan, but that's it. You listen to Adam speak, he's full of confidence, man. And why wouldn't he be? You're at a club at Celtic. You're going to get service, like you've just said there, to score 20 goals. And he did that for us last season. Now, there's still Celtic fans out there saying that he needs to do more. For me personally, a Celtic striker, I've heard this chat about Celtic strikers should be scoring 20 goals. That's not how football works. You don't just because you're playing for Celtic, that should be gifted to you. No. Adam works very hard for the team. He doesn't play every single game due to the capacity of games that Celtic do play. But when you take it from when Adam came to Celtic on loan, the things that he's done for the club. I had this conversation with a guy a couple of weeks ago who's a Rangers fan. I'm not going to name him, but obviously I don't think he would mind if he even hears a story being told to you guys. I told him the difference. Now, there was this small debate that was going on regarding Adam Idah and Cyril Dessers. And there were Celtic fans towards the end of the season thinking that Cyril Dessers was better than Adam Idah. Now, for me personally, the way I see it is pretty straightforward, really. So I says to my mate who brought this conversation up at a social event, and I had says to him then, well, for me, it's a non-entity, it's a non-starter in terms of a debate. And he says, what do you mean? And I says, well, you're asking me who do I think's better, Adam Idah or Cyril Dessers? And he said, yeah. I said, I can't even believe you've actually asked me that with a straight face. And he went, what do you mean? I said, well, you watch your football the same as myself. And you watch what happens in the football the same as myself. Now, it's clear to see for everyone that Adam Idah scores goals that define where trophies go. And what I mean by that is he scores big goals that help Celtic to win titles. He scores goals that help Celtic to win Scottish Cups. He scores goals or is involved in play to help Celtic negotiate from the group stage of the Champions League into the knockout phase of the Champions League. So my point there is, he does that more than what Cyril Dessers does. Cyril Dessers scores goals against teams that Rangers aren't going to win a title. Rangers don't win trophies from those games he scores in. So for me, the argument there is Adam Idah does more and has more to show for what he does. And it kind of turned my mate's head, to be honest. I'm a big fan of Adam. I'm looking forward to seeing Adam kicking on. He's already off the mark. I mean, people like to read into certain situations. I thought he looked quite sharp. I was looking at that. I was looking at his fitness. I was looking at how quick he was off the mark. He scores. Okay, people might say it was a tap-in. Great position that he takes up for the goal. Good movement. And then he takes up another good moment, which he pulls a very good save off from the goalkeeper. We could have had a brace at the weekend. So yeah, and but I'm looking forward to only Celts. I'm looking forward to seeing Adam kick on. And believe it or not, this is his first pre-season with Celtic. So he hasn't even done a pre-season in all of his time so far with the Hoops. Paul Maguire, Yang is not good enough for Celtic. We need quality, ready-made Champions League class. What I would say to that, Paul, is to quote my good man, Mr. Ryan Clifford, on the channel, Yang in the Champions League for Celtic was like prime Neymar. So, again, I understand and I can totally get where you're coming from. But his performance levels in that sort of competition, especially just last season, did show that he could handle the occasion. He could be part of it. But I think I get where you're coming from. I think I get overall in the longevity over games. I would say it's fair that he's not starting every game. There is a reason for that. There's other players there. I don't think it's nothing to do with how he copes or anything else. I just think he's been a much slower developer than the other players that we've already got. Obviously, as we know as well, folks, second part of my banner tonight. Rob, how you doing, mate? It's good to see you on again. Hope you're well. I'm doing well as well. Obviously, the second part of my banner tonight is Jota's injury return date has been given to us. Not the actual date, but a kind of timeline as to what we're looking for in Jota's return. And it was confirmed at the weekend by Brendan himself that we won't see Jota until the calendar year of 2026. So that to me strikes as a very bad injury. And obviously Jota's underway now in his rehab. How are you feeling about that now, knowing that we're not seeing or going to see Jota back for Celtic and until 2026? Because I was totally got. I never realised the capacity of his injury, and then I've done a wee bit more due diligence into it, and it's a really, really bad injury he done. Out of nothing as well. I mean, he's just going for the ball, there's nobody near him. He plants his leg and his knee twists, and it's now left us in a real position now. Obviously, Celtic we've obviously sold on Nicholas Kuhn. So you're now looking at your two of your first team wingers are now not in the squad. Now, I'm not silly enough. I understand that there is work going on just now to get guys in for that and for the positions. It's just, we're talking about Jota here. How much of a miss is he to Celtic? And, in that timescale, do you guys as fans think it will be a big miss for the team? Big Rab again. Jota, big miss, but gives others a chance to step up. Well, this is it. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Celtic, Rab. There's always somebody else looking to take the place of the hero. Remember when Larsson broke his leg? Big Viduka stepped up, and he was awesome that season. That, in terms of goal-wise and his return and everything, albeit Celtic weren't successful in the trophy hunt that season, or too successful. But, it's a chance now for somebody to grab the jersey. And I believe this season, folks, that we will see someone who we probably don't expect to become a new kind of hero amongst the fans. If you remember right, a couple of years ago, Idah wasn't always a hero. He was a good player. I mean, he was a fast runner, but he wasn't in the capacity that he's in now. He wasn't, even just last season, he wasn't, yeah, Rab, you've just said it there, mate. Kyogo moves, Idah steps up. But Idah wasn't always the hero. That's the beauty of Celtic, folks. There's always someone else. Even if Brendan Rodgers leaves, which will happen one day, there'll be another manager comes along and fans will sing his name, or, that seems to be the case. I mean, as a younger lad, I never ever thought I'd go over as selling Henrik. Celtic move on. That's the reality of where we are. Players get injured, they come, they leave, they do well, they move on. Celtic that's the beauty of Glasgow Celtic. They remain the constant. The rest is just all politics in between all the other issues that go on. And yeah, so, but Jota's injury is not the best. Could have been different. Who knows? If he, should have, would have, could have, he might not have went for that challenge. Who knows what would have happened if he didn't do this? It's all hindsight. What we need to deal with is the here and then. Celtic, earlier on tonight in Belgium, there is reports that Celtic are moving closer to a move for left-back, Portuguese left-back, Flavio Nazinho. I know with a name like Nazinho, he sounds Brazilian. He's not. He's from Almada in Portugal. He's about to turn 22 and he plays for Cercle Brugge. As I said earlier, folks, there was reports in Belgium to say that the lad is basically on his way to Celtic. Is anybody that's tuning in with me aware of this lad? Have you heard anything on it? On the contrary to what I've said? Like I said, he's about to turn 22 on the 20th of July. He would be, obviously, Greg Taylor's replacement in the squad. In my opinion, it's a vital position for the team because right now we only have Kieran Tierney, predominantly Hayato Inamura. He's a left centre back. I know he's currently being used in the pre-season just now. In the last couple of games he's played out at left. Looks a very good player on the ball. Very clean and secure passer of the ball. But that's not his position. And for me, I would like to get in the correct ammunition for the right positions that we need. Instead of having to move guys out of position just to cover a position. But well, and that's the thing. That is the thing. That, do you know, I've got a theory that's why Ryan isn't with us tonight, because he might have had to pronounce his name. Ryan might have actually had to pronounce this fella's name tonight, which is why he's not with us. Should we start a rumour? I know that's quite a common theme in football nowadays, rumours galore. Should we start a rumour for the channel and say Ryan's not doing the podcast anymore because of the players' names that are supposed to be coming to Celtic are too difficult for him to pronounce? Wait till you hear his full name, not just Flavio Nazinho. This lad has got a bit of a mouthful if you were to say his full name, Ange. You're right, though. It would be funny to hear Ryan do it. So, if anybody wants to see it, I'll maybe see if I can sweet talk Ryan into doing a wee video to pronounce some of the names, and we'll just do it as a rondo and quickfire. Not the way they do in like Soccer AM or whatever. And you see it, and it's like one of the presenters tries to pronounce big names that you've never heard of. So his real name, in case you're wondering, Ange, is Flavio Basiloa Jacinto Nazinho. So, I think that'd be dead funny if we got Ryan on here to try and say that. Yeah, Rob, you're probably right, mate. In terms of Bernardo and Jota, they've probably, I would imagine, they'll know of the lad, or they've maybe came across him somewhere in their travels. Albeit this lad comes through the Sporting Lisbon Academy. So, I mean, he's played for quite a few youth academies. The Monte Capricia, Leo Ativo, Cova de Padade, Braga, and obviously Sporting Lisbon, as I mentioned. So those are some of the academies this lad has came through. He's currently with Cercle Brugge. And yeah, it looks like he could be on the move to Celtic. But I would imagine through the Portuguese youth set up somewhere, because he's played at Portugal under 21s. So, and he's had a couple of caps for them, Rob. So I would imagine somewhere, you know, the lads might know of him. My understanding is he's quite tall. He's about 5'10", between 5'10" and 6 foot. He's fast. He's athletic built. He's got good physicality. He can run all day, and he's very good with the ball. He's a good technician. That's what my early understanding is of the lad. And we'll just need to wait and see. I don't know. As I say, I mean, something could materialise very soon for this. It might not get done. I don't know. But that's earlier on today, reports from Belgium where that this lad was going to be making his move to the green and white side of Glasgow. Barry Boy, he says, how many players do you think we need to add? Personally, mate, I would like to see us bring in, obviously, the left back. I'd like to see us bring in at least another centre back. I'd like us to add in our midfield. I think we need a wee bit of robustness in there. Someone into, because obviously I've said earlier on the channel, previous episode, Barry, that I think Brendan is going to change the system this season to a 4-2-3-1. So I think predominantly you would want somebody getting in there and rotating round, helping McGregor. So I think we need someone else for in there. As it stands just now, mate, I think we need 2 wingers. And that's just now. That's before you've even get rid of Yang or Palmer, or even letting Marco Tilio go back to Melbourne, because I know they're showing interest again. So it'll be an interesting one, mate, because we still don't know if, I mean, Tilio only just played one half on Saturday. Brendan might like him. I might be sitting here just scaremongering, I don't know. So I don't want to speak at a turn. There might be a plan for this lad, who knows. Right now I want 2 wingers and potentially another centre-forward. Now, I believe that we are going to have another centre-forward in the lad Shin Yamada from Japan. He's played 62 games. I think he scored something like 25, 26 goals in his time at Kawasaki. That's not a bad return, by the way, considering he's only just started his professional career at 2022. He came out of university. So that to me, folks, as well, is an interesting one, because obviously Inamura's followed a certain path. People think, you know, 22, 23 is relatively old in football. I personally think that it's obviously different in Japan, isn't it? They come from university and then they get into football clubs. And then as it stands just now, especially this window alone, I mean, this is the first time I've really took notice of it, folks, but there's a lot of talent being shipped from Japan now into kind of mainstream Europe all over. The Japan national team's obviously got a good side there as well. So I think it's going to be interesting. I do think Shin Yamada will sign for us. I think that's one of those deals because he's still in international duty just now with the Japan national team at this tournament. I think their last game's against Korea. Is it tomorrow or Wednesday morning? So after that, I think he'll obviously make a move over. Now, I'm not saying, Barry, that might be the only striker we sign. I don't know. But that's the kind of surgery I would expect just now. I also expect more surgery, regardless of what happens with the European playoff. So I still think somebody might leave and we might sign other players. For me, this is just how I feel. I think we're very early on in pre-season. I'm not worrying. I'm not panicking. But there is that sort of, again, it's all about a fix. You know, you want to see the next guy who's coming to Celtic. You want to get him in the door, preferably earlier. But I can understand these things do take a bit of time. It is frustrating as Celtic fans. We're all sitting here. We're kind of want players in the door. You know, fans are really, really itching to get Celtic back at Celtic Park and see them again. So they want to look at these things. They want to enjoy these things. They want to see it. But early doors, Barry, the ones I've ringed off, mate, those are the kind of ones that I've kind of got in my mind. After that, mate, depending on, you know, I still think the squad, looking at the squad, we've still got some really, really strong numbers there, mate. I know we had some injuries for the Scottish Cup final. But looking at the squad, man, unless you're starting to sell 1, 2 and 3, then I wouldn't, you know, you're looking at Bernardo, McCown, Engels, Hatate, McGregor, they're all in the midfield. So I want to add at least one in there to help with them. You're looking at the wingers, we need 2, only because you've got Idah Kuhn and you've sold him on. Jota's injured now to 2026, so you'd want another one in there for cover. Up front, I expect Idah to kick on. I really do. Idah can play through the middle. Johnny Kenny, there's still a decision to be made on him. You've got young Callum Osmond there as well. We still don't know how good this lad's going to be. It's early doors. He looks fresh. He looks busy. He looks sharp. Again, I'm not going to start making silly statements and making accusations about people and doing this and that. But I would expect Celtic to still bring in another striker, mate. But we'll need to wait and see, as I said. But I don't think Celtic will do humongous amount of business. Obviously, there's certain positions that we do need. So the left back, the 2 wingers, I would say those are more necessities than anything else just now. And then I would ideally be looking at centre back. I want at least a centre back, the 2 wingers and the left back before we get to the playoff. In an ideal world, if I'm being honest. And then I think there'll be surgery done. If Celtic make the Champions League, I think there'll still be more surgery done then before the window closes. I think there'll be 1 or 2 things happening then. Because that tends to be the way Celtic do things. I don't have a problem with it. And you look at, I remember the excitement of Engels and Idah and all that last season, like McCown, and I know they all came in late in the window, Austin Trusty, they all signed late in the window. but they all made a dent in the team straight away as soon as they came in as well. So I don't really have a problem with, for me, it doesn't matter if they sign the first day or the last day. I can get where people are coming for it. It'd be good to see them in pre-season. Like I says, we've still done a bit of business already. You look at, we've signed 5 players. They've all pretty much now played a part over pre-season so far. So, as I say, we'll wait and we'll see how things are. But we'll need to wait. Jamie Brown reckons that it looks like the board are playing games with Brendan Rodgers. He doesn't seem to be getting back to the hilt. Now, I've seen a couple of similar opinions to this. I've seen folks say similar things to this. And again, my early thoughts to this is, I mean, it's still early. I mean, it's not like we're not in the last 2 days of the window. And we're no, I don't think we're in anywhere near scrambling. I've seen Celtic fans look across the board and look across the water, and they're signing players that they need to. They needed to, and they still need to. So for me, when you look at the quality that we possess still just now, we're talking about a Celtic side here that got to the knockout phase of the Champions League last season. But see, for me, that gets forgotten about when it comes to summer window and the January window and everything else, because it's as if the faith in what's there is no longer there. And in a way, not deliberately, but just in a small way, it just it goes by the wayside. It just kind of it gets forgotten about. Square Sauces Mick, we are far weaker than last season. That's your opinion, buddy, and you're entitled to it. I firmly believe that that's untrue. I think the acquisition of Kieran Tierney and Benjamin NYGREN ultimately makes last season's team stronger. Barring injuries, we are only Nicholas Kuhn down from our team last season. So Cameron Carter-Vickers is still there. Casper Schmeichel's still there. Alistair Johnson's still there. Kieran Tierney's now joined the squad, which takes us up a humongous level to what we were last season. NYGREN gives us a totally different dimension. I think you've seen his early early indication, his early touches, and he sets up a goal with 2 touches of the ball on Saturday there. So for me, those 2 added to last season's team, who, bearing in mind, got to the knockout phase of the Champions League and were a ball hair away from winning a domestic treble. Yeah. I personally can't see how Celtic walk out of that so far. They are weaker. They've also, in my opinion, added probably a better goalkeeper than what we had in Scott Bain. I think the boy Doohan's better than him. So you would say in that department there, we're even stronger with depth. But again, like I say, it's all about opinions. It's all about, how individuals feel on the matter. I get everybody's got an opinion, and yeah, I get that. That's the beauty of it. I mean, if we all agreed with each other, or we all thought each other was right, then I think it would be. We wouldn't have democracy, and we wouldn't have debates, and we wouldn't have But that's a good thing about Celtic. There's never a dull moment. There's always something to talk about. And yeah, but when you are, but what I would say to anyone, don't get lost with all the success. Don't get lost in it. Start remembering along the way as we go, just what even the guys that are here with us, without looking for new people, without wanting new. And I get every team, every team has got to freshen themselves and go again. But don't forget what some of these guys also bring you in a match day. Don't forget what you're watching and what you've seen. I think that's key. And sometimes for me, especially going to games and you hear people talking and you hear people, shouting things out and saying things. And again, it's all about opinions and that's fine. But sometimes I just feel that, that's forgotten about. I hear this people saying, last season's last season and that's that. And that's true. But you can't just forget 4-5 months ago. But for anybody that, even take out of consideration KT, if you've only added KT to last season's team, we're stronger. Of course we are. He's better than the two of them that were with us last season in that position. And that's just a fact. I mean, that's no dig at Greg Taylor. He was phenomenal for Celtic. But ability-wise, Kieran Tierney is at a much higher level. We've signed a Premier League, high-end Premier League left-back. World-class ability. So that acquisition to the team alone makes the team stronger. I mean, it's for me that isn't difficult. I mean, that's the reality of it. He makes that team stronger. He also brings experience and he brings character to join with what the team had. Now, we already lost a big character in Greg Taylor, a guy who was amazing around the squad. You've already heard players' interviews. Luke McCown done one with the Celtic podcast, and he talks about how much Greg Taylor's going to be missed. Kieran Tierney brings more of that in abundance. Look at the experiences he's had in the game. You look at he's been at Arsenal, albeit went through a very difficult time during COVID. He was then put out on loan over to Spain, the Basque country. So he's had quite a lot of experience in his career. And a wee bit of adversity that he's had to come back from as well. And you can't do that unless you've got character. So, for me, Kieran Tierney joining Celtic already makes Celtic stronger. There is no doubt. And for me, that's something that I think most Celtic fans can agree with. Tony Capone, good evening to you, sir. We want good quality for Europe, but getting quality to play in Scotland against, well, without saying much, it's the biggest hurdle in the competition. Yeah, I've said it many a times on here, mate. That's the biggest, that's why Celtic's model is what it is, Tony. That's why Celtic have got the transfer trading model that they have. Celtic can't bring Celtic have only got Kieran Tierney because he's affiliation with the club. Celtic have only got Brendan Rodgers because of his affiliation with the club. Now, not only have we had Brendan Rodgers once, but we've managed to have him twice. And yeah, for me, that quality level is always going to be very difficult to attract here. That's why Celtic go and they buy up-and-coming guys who, yes, they do have quality. Some might need to develop it. And then we give them a platform at Celtic, a winning platform, to know what it's like to be in a team that has a high demand, one from a fan base, two from a high quality coach and management team, and three, to be a high standard setter for your own development in football. So Scotland, unfortunately, doesn't hold a great quality and isn't attractive in terms of league quality. High calibre players, the reality is they don't want to go and play at Dingwall on a Tuesday night in the Cup. They don't want to go and play, no disrespect, a team like East Kilbride in the Scottish Cup on a Sunday. It's just not going to happen. When they do have the option to go and play for a Blackburn Rovers who might have just been promoted to the Premier League, when they're going to be playing at Anfield and Emirates and Old Trafford and Stamford Bridge and places like St James's Park and, you know, places like that every week. That's why even to these clubs, Celtic are losing guys 10 a penny. But the flip side of that, and the positive side of that, is Celtic have been highly successful at the way we do things because of the way we operate and the people we have operating in the roles for the club. Things like being in the Champions League are helping Celtic. Because if Celtic didn't have Champions League, younger guys who are like Jeremy Frimpong, who are like a young Odsonne Edouard, or a Moussa Dembele, or a Jota, or a Bernardo, or an Engels, guys who are going to come here, a Matt O'Reilly, Dyson Maeda, Kyogo, guys who are going to come here and do very well, and then get themselves that more, I'm not going to say a bigger move, because there's no many bigger than Glasgow Celtic, but a more luxurious in terms of lifestyle, financially. But while they're here, they've built up that community of success, how to be a winner, and the mindset that comes with doing that. And then when they go to these teams, you hear about them, you know, having high standards and everything else. So, unfortunately, we just don't have the attraction in Scotland to keep quality for very much long. I've seen some comments flying in. I will come back to you as we see. Big Alan. Evening, everyone. Katie's a great signing, but as we speak, there is no doubt our squad is worryingly weaker. No Jota this year, no Kyogo, no Kuhn. I can understand where you're coming from, Alan. The Kyogo thing isn't something new. He's been away since January, so we've kind of got used to the fact that he's not there. And since Kyogo's not been with us, he's now had two clubs. He's now been with two, not just one, but two clubs. So that's not a new thing. And like I says before, I'd mentioned about what I was meaning. The injuries aside, that we still have those players, and obviously Nicholas Kuhn's sale has just happened in the last few days. So But I do understand where folk are coming from. My view is slightly different. I feel that with the addition of Kieran Tierney and Benji NYGREN, I think, especially Celtic's first team, I think we are stronger as it speaks just now. I do believe there is obviously work happening behind the scenes, and like I said earlier, things are early just now, and I think obviously work and surgery is happening as we all speak just now. Just the way it's happening doesn't seem to be quick enough for Celtic fans, and doesn't seem to be happening the way Celtic fans want it. Defence, Brendan says he wanted 3 starters in before he loses anyone, so where are we with that? So much weaker. Well, NYGREN and Tierney, 2 out of 3, as Meatloaf says, ain't bad so far. The only third one is that we are looking for a Nicholas Kuhn replacement now, due to Nicholas moving on. In terms of the Nicholas Kuhn move, I don't know how quickly that it came across as a quick one. I think Como moved quickly for him. Leipzig did show interest. And Rab, we have lost 2 starters and got 2 starters in. Yeah, mate. Yeah. That's the way I see it as well. That's just the way I see it. And so the 3 starters that Brendan's looking for, 2 of them, at least 2 of them anyway, are in the squad. Square sausage, Mick. The squad is far weaker, JP, undeniably so. Well, like I said earlier, mate, that's your opinion. But I definitely don't see it like that. I don't see Celtic weaker. Perhaps maybe only because of Jota's injury. But no, I don't see us weaker just now. Certainly in this day, Nicholas Kuhn isn't with us, but that hasn't really having an effect on us, due to the fact that there's no competitive football just now and nothing else. And so, but fair enough. I mean, like I say, everybody's got their own opinions. Everybody sees things totally different. But in reality, the 2 players, like I mentioned, like NYGREN and Tierney, they've came into the side, and I would imagine over the course of the next few pre-season friendlies, we'll see a wee bit more of them. Big Dom, we never replaced Matt O'Reilly. Of course, we're weaker. Well, that's the thing. I would agree with you. However, for me, it's taken a wee bit longer than I would have hoped. I think everybody last season, Dom, expected Engels to replace Matt O'Reilly. But I believe now NYGREN will replace Matt O'Reilly, and has replaced Matt O'Reilly. Like I says, I do think the way Brendan set up in pre-season indicates to me that we are going to look to go for 2-3-1 this season. And I would expect Benji to be a vital part of that through the middle, the way Matt O'Reilly took on board when Rodgers came in the second time. Rodgers' choice of starter as a prawn cocktail. Yep. Yeah. And he only goes to eat them. He's Tom Ford's on, apparently. Again, that's just a rumour. I don't know if that's true. But Big Rab, how can you replace a 25 million overnight? Never going to happen. It takes time to build any player up. That's the model. Yeah, that's it. And for me, when I look at Celtic's transfers, and when I look at the way Celtic do things, you've got to take into consideration, and I think what's lost in this somewhere along the way, somewhere in transition with all this, and especially in this city, there is a football rivalry. Now, for me, without not giving too much away, I grew up in an era where my side of the rivalry won nothing. And I watched the other side win almost everything. Wasn't it nice? Wasn't it nice? Now you look at it, I don't remember losing. I've not had that. Even when we lost that cup final there, you know, it was a kind of one-off thing. We used to lose everything. Like, we never won a thing when I was growing up. So there's a rivalry here. You know? So Celtic aren't just contending with trying to get players in for this and try to do this, and they're also keeping a rivalry at bay here. I've said that millions of times on this channel. Celtic have obliterated and outgrown Scottish football. Celtic, for me now, and only through, this is an informed opinion as well, only through information I was given, Celtic see themselves going into the Champions League and trying to do that consecutively. Now, what that means, when Celtic are going to do that, they then hope to have a bigger network to go on. And like Rab says, when you're wheeling and dealing and you're selling guys for 25 million and you're signing guys like Engels for 11 million quid, there will become a time where, as Celtic fans now moving forward, we're probably going to have to normalise these kind of transfers. This is what we'll need to do in order to make that step. And let's face it, we're never ever going to win the Champions League. Football's a funny old game. But what I'm saying is, there is nothing to stop Celtic doing what they've done this season, or last season, should I say, and giving teams like Bayern Munich a fright. And when I mean a fright, I mean doing some damage against them and putting them right under the cosh where they actually think, hold on a wee minute, this team could go through here. And we were effectively one last kick of the ball away from taking that tie, which nobody gave us a hope in hell of going into in the first place. But we nearly took them to extra time, and God knows what could have happened in there. Because up until that moment when Alphonso Davies scored that goal, nobody saw that happening. It didn't look like it was going to happen. But that's where Celtic, you hear Brendan talking about it, I've heard other people surrounding the club talking about it, that's where Celtic see where they're going. That's where Celtic see themselves. So, everybody keeps saying about your bread and butter and everything. That takes care of itself. That's always going to be there for us. But the reality is, Celtic have outgrown the bread and butter that much that we're now looking at something else. We're now looking at the prospect of needing, that challenge and a test for our players, mentality, physically, standards-wise, to go another direction. But like I says, folks, that's probably going to have to become a point in time whether we might see another transfer fee, like another Engels this summer. And this is what I'm saying, when you get to the Champions League and then you set those kind of marks for yourself, those benchmarks, and you say to yourself, well, can we do it again? Can we then, there's 8 games in this group, so can we then go again and can we really set the cat amongst the pigeons? Can we really go and do, what Chelsea done last night, and go and really put on a showcase in a one-off game and get themselves a very good result against probably the best team in Europe just now? And they hammered PSG. Celtic wiped the floor with Chelsea a year ago, 4-1. I know it was a friendly. Chelsea had a very good side out. But the way Celtic went about that is my point here. And that's where Celtic are looking to better. Now, I'm not naive enough to say Celtic should take their eye off the ball and just forget domestic foot. That's not what I'm saying. I firmly believe there's a bigger plan in place at Celtic. And that plan is now underway in order to see Celtic make that next step. People say, yeah, we've got a playoff to do. But even just now, you look at Celtic are going to be seeded in this draw. Now, again, I'm not getting too far ahead of ourselves. But call it experience, call it whatever you like, call it madness. Some folk might even watching us, hearing us. I have firm belief and confidence in Celtic just now to go up against any team and cause them serious issues. Why? Because I know what quality Celtic possess. And I know what these guys are capable of. I've always said it, 9 times out of 10, the big occasion, Celtic they always stand and be counted. And that's why we're all proud. That's why we're all the way we are. And that's why that's why we're all celebrating the way we are now every season, because of what Celtic are capable of. Celtic aren't showing any ambition yet, to be honest. All the talk of progression and competing in Europe is still only talk. Big window ahead. Well, it's not only talk. So Celtic have also now walked the walk. You're talking about a team that got to the knockout phase of the Champions League last season. So it's no talk, GG. Definitely a wee bit more than talk, mate. Celtic got to the knockout phase of the Champions League. So Celtic actually walked the walk, mate, and managed to get us over that line. So there's definitely no talk there, mate. I get people's, individual thoughts, views, opinions, everything else, fine. But there is significant evidence there to show you progression. And yeah, it's, it's there. JP, you're possibly the only Celtic fan I've heard say we are stronger than last year. Well, what I said, Mick, was if you take Jota's injury aside, he's still part of the squad, right? The only thing is we've not yet signed a player from selling Nicholas Kuhn. Now, Nicholas Kuhn's only out the door a few days. So we've not yet signed a player for that. Who's to say even in the next 24 hours that doesn't happen? But right away, mate, we've added the quality of Kieran Tierney. And we have added a Sweden international to our team who scored 2 goals out of his 4 games for Sweden. And his early indication is he's well up for the challenge, that's for sure. His wee pass through to big Idah at the weekend for a goal. Great ball. And as I say, I think, Jamie, it's not a case of a glass half full kind of guy, mate. I think what it is I think what helps me, mate, is when, like I says, when the grounding I had as a young Celtic fan and watching Celtic through the years, etc., I think they're not winning for a long time, mate. And then when I saw, Fergus McCann coming in and Celtic starting taking a try to change the way things were doing and everything else, and then we started winning, and then Martin O'Neill came in and totally revolutionised the full club, mate. I think personally, mate, that's helped to ground me and make me the way I am. Because I've always said it, Jamie, when we lose, I tend not to get too down about it. But when we win, I don't get too carried away either. And that helps. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me as a person, mate. I don't know. I come across that way. I'm quite a positive person. I think there's a lot of negativity happening elsewhere in the world, mate, that enough said for that. So I try to look at things in a positive light, and that's just the way I am, mate. So yeah, I'm not going to make an apology about it. I can understand that probably annoys people, yeah, it is what it is. I don't like to I'll never shoot anybody down for saying something, for saying something they think. I mean, Mick said the night that he thinks the Celtic squad weaker, and that's fine. Alan's obviously come on the chat and he's had his say, and Alan's a dear friend of mine. No doubt Ryan will have a different opinion as well, and but that's totally fine. That is totally fine. Yeah. But one thing I do understand is, under Brendan Rodgers' stewardship, Celtic won't, they certainly won't stand still. And the players that are all with Celtic just now all know that this isn't a holiday season. This isn't one of those, they've had a full revamp across the water, so we need to, take our foot off the gas. That definitely that will not be happening. And it's the same stuff every year. You keep hearing this, Hearts are doing this, and Hibs are doing this, and Aberdeen are doing... I tell you what, folks, right? Here's something, and if this gets out to the majority of the fan bases out there, then I hope so. User are going to have to worry about us. That's all I can say. And I can say that with confidence. Because we've got Brendan Rodgers as a manager, and we've got Callum McGregor as a leader on the pitch. So yous are going to have to worry about us. We don't need to worry about yous. We are the champions of this country. And when I say champions, you're talking about a huge, huge margin. We won the league at a canter last season as well. That's a Celtic side, by the way, that won the league at a canter last season. And we still lost a couple of the derbies in the season. I remember when Celtic couldn't win a derby. To some, how would you feel not watching your team win a derby? When you've went for that now to totally obliterating Scottish football, being the most successful club in Scotland, winning the most trophies, yada, yada. And by the way, not one of you have mentioned that Celtic have already got a trophy in the bag this season so far. We won the Cork City Cup. I know some of you are probably throwing stuff at your screens and all that for this, but I just thought I would add that in for good measure as well. Yeah, but I remember us not getting anywhere near Europe. I remember got to football games, Pat, and saying to my dad, we were playing Dundee United, and saying to my dad, we were lucky to get a draw today, and he agreed with me. And I remember the days at Celtic when they never had Celtic Park, and we had to go to Hampden to watch them. So I went through heaps of nonsense and trash through the years as a football fan supporting Celtic. And I remember standing outside Celtic Park in the rain to find out whether Celtic were actually going to close or not. So some of the things that are being said about the football club, some of the things that are being said about individuals within the football club. This is when we're the best team in the country. Could you imagine what would be being said just now surrounding our fan base if we hadn't won anything? If we weren't winning anything? Bringing a couple of bodies in to bolster my squad. Jesus, if that's all we had to worry about back in the day, eh? But I'm pretty sure, as I said, Jerry Coyle, how old are you, JP? Why are you asking? What are you wanting to know that for? I've not got OnlyFans, if that's what you're going to ask me. If you want that, you'll need to contact young Ryan. He'll set you up with that, mate. But I've said it a number of times on this channel, mate. I don't know how long you've watched this for, Jerry. But I am 41 years of age, mate. There you go. 41. So I remember a load of nonsense within the club. You know, I see some of the comments now, and I see Celtic fans. Now and again, I chuckle. I do chuckle. Because you look at it, I'll give you an example. Idah, right? He obviously splits the fan base, doesn't he? His opinion, the opinion on him. But I remember earlier than that, mate. Not just Liam Brady. I remember Lou McCarry and all that as well, mate. I remember. Put it this way, my earliest memory of Celtic was Paul McStay, Tommy Burns, Roy Aitken, Paul Elliott, Mike Galloway, Chris Morris, Anton Nogan, Stevie Fulton. I remember the teams. Carol Muggleton, Wayne Biggins, Ian Andrews. I remember these guys. So I remember going to watch Celtic. Jesus, if fans went to watch them now, if they were the teams now, you wouldn't recognise Celtic sides. So it's, yeah, it's, can you imagine what it would be like now, back then? the way things are now with social media and everything else. Oh my goodness. Fans don't know how lucky they are. And I'm saying that, by the way, kindly. They don't know how lucky they are. And I actually nearly used a swear word there. But I realised Ryan's in the chat, so if I did say a swear word there, I'd have had to put money in the jar. Jerry, I remember him as well. I've only seen footage of him, but I do remember him, mate. And because of my dad, I feel as if I know the Lisbon Lions. Obviously, I've been in their company many a times now, but through the years and stuff. But as players, I mean. But thanks to my dad, I'm well educated in the Lions. And I feel as if I know them. Yeah, GG, I'm just a pup, mate. To some, certainly, that's for sure. But you look at young Ryan. I mean, Ryan's 31 now, is he? I might be wrong. He's probably going to chin me if I've said that wrong. Coming up for 32, I think Ryan might be now, if I'm not mistaken. So he's even younger. Ryan only knows success. He doesn't know. That's how when Celtic lose, he's wanting to drink bleach and everything else because he doesn't know. He's no clue about Celtic losing the way they used to. I actually had this chat with the boys on a group chat last night and a kind of voice note, and I'd says this to them about the modern day Celtic fans now. Some of these young guys don't know, and young girls, I mean, they don't know, they haven't seen Celtic lose. I know Ryan's seen Celtic lose the odd league title and cup finals, etc. I'm talking about seasons where we never won anything. Season after season after season. Honestly, frightening. Could you imagine what some of the generation now would be doing? That says, folks, I could see the point of Celtic weren't doing anything. Celtic are the dominant team in this country. And we're talking about we need to do this and we need to do this and we need to do it. I think we're in good hands. Because the team that, you know, the same culprits that keep getting picked on all the time, they're the ones that have steered us in the direction this club's went. Remember how the club used to be run? With the Kellys? Jesus, man. Can you imagine that happening now? Wow. Even back in the day, I never seen a way out. Really didn't I? I know some of you guys are a wee bit older than me, but I never seen a way out, man. I really didn't. I never seen a way out for that ending. But little did we know that Govan was a tax haven away back in the day. Only if we knew then what we know now. But, Ryan, if you're in the chat, mate, Celtic are linked with a new Portuguese left back, buddy. I want you to do a wee video and we'll get it out to the socials. We said it earlier, starting a wee rumour about you pronunciating players that Celtic are linked with. And I want you to do a wee video with his name. So, Ryan T, yeah, I mean, that's what it was then, but at the time, mate, that's not what was going on, was it? I don't know about that, Square Sausage Mick. Probably best to leave the jokes to somebody that can tell them. I knew there was something you wouldn't have been good at, mate. It's definitely your joke telling. Billy Collins is no shite to sell yet, I'll tell you. But sorry, I'm just reading the comments. God knows what schemes. What was that? Sorry, Pat. God knows what schemes they were using in the late 80s, 90s that haven't been flagged up. Yeah. I mean that's it. I mean, we only know what we know now. That probably dates back to you know, what we've been told. Right back to 2012 and just before that in the 90s. So as you said there, mate, there's probably a lot more. I call it the camel hump carpet. There's that much being swept under it, you know. John Shirley, your father, John, JP, learned you more, yet you talk on the pod instead of your dad. JP, how much your dad knows of Celtic. Well, John, the thing is, I don't know if you've noticed, mate, my dad's also been on the podcast. My dad was a regular caller in the dial-in. So my dad did enjoy coming on the podcast also. Not everybody, as we have seen with the dial-in. Take your Celtic example, John Shirley, who have got some opinions for the chat, mate, but, you know, you declined plenty of options to come on the dial-in. You never ever once came forward for that, or... So, sometimes folk feel comfortable in situations differently from what others do, mate. Like see yourself, mate, you obviously feel comfortable commenting in to the kind of live chat more than you would coming on and having a chat with us personally. Not only you, but I'll tell you what, in terms when it comes to Celtic and everything else, mate, you know, there's certainly no more grounding I could have had and information I could have had more than my dad. And that's a fact. And then as you become older and a bit more wiser and a bit more mature, etc., you start to read and learn for yourself. So I took an interest, personally, John, to join the podcast. And it was dead easy for me because I love chatting about Celtic. I love my team. I'm passionate about them. And I don't really have much more hobbies than football. You know, you like guys that like golf, and I like playing pool and snooker, but not to the extent I do watching football. Football's became a big part of my life. I was involved in it when I was younger. Unfortunately, circumstances arised where I couldn't be involved in it. And yeah, I've now got this opportunity in order to work with the guys and have a say in what we do. Again, it's down to personal choice. It's nothing else, but yeah. So that's why I'm on the pod, John. Just wondering if Mr. Shirley's going to start a petition to get me removed for the pod now. John doesn't want me on the pod. He wants my dad. He wants JP Senior to come on the pod now and take over. Put it out to tender. Ryan and Alan, if you're still in the chat, how would you feel about that? They'd probably say aye anyway, John. Don't worry about that. They'd probably back you up. But aye, let's start another rumour. I'm up for it. But yeah. So that's why I decided to be on the pod. And that's why you decide to be in the comments, John. It's just choice, mate. Nothing else. It's no anything hard or anything difficult. It's just your choice. That's it. Right, folks. That's all for Monday evening. I hope you have all enjoyed the chat as much as I have. Thank you very much for all your opinions, and thank you very much for giving me a chance to come on and have a chat. And yeah, it's good to It's good to get on and chat with Celtic. I've always said it, folks. There is never a dull moment when it comes to a team like Celtic. So much to talk about, so much going on. Yeah, it'd be boring if we didn't have it. So, we will be back on Wednesday. I'm trying to talk the boys into doing a wee chat after Wednesday's game when we play Sporting Lisbon. Hopefully we can get that arranged for you. Stay tuned for that. We'll get that announced hopefully tomorrow, one way or another for you, if that is going to happen. If not, we definitely will be back Thursday after the game. But I'm trying to get an after-match chat organised for us once we play Sporting Lisbon, because we've managed to do it for a couple of the games so far in pre-season. It'd be good to continue that. And yeah, take it easy. Enjoy your week, guys. I know Wednesday's meant to be a belter in terms of weather-wise, so let's hope so. And top up your tan. Hail, hail. See you again.
Sets up Larsson here. Larsson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! O'Reilly. How about that for a pass? Jota! How about that for a finish? That is Jota for you! In for Henrik Larsson. And Moravcik! His first goal for Celtic! Here is Shunsuke Nakamura! Exquisite!